Small Arm Solutions. Today we have something rather unique. You're going to have the opportunity to take a look at a pre-production component that I'd sort of been involved with for the last few years. Now, this is not a product yet. We're still in the development phases of it, and we're going to go over some of the changes that are going to be coming. But what we're looking at here is a fully adjustable gas system for an AK. Now, this system here, there's a very unique story behind it, and we're going to have a little bit of story time to start this video off. A few years ago, I was in the Ukraine working with the Ukrainian military, and I was made acquaintance with a gentleman who literally was a rocket scientist. His primary job was he worked for the Soviet space program as a rocket engineer. He now works for the Ukrainian government, but his primary position for many years was a Soviet rocket scientist. And I was taken by a very good friend of mine down to this like a production garage or like a hobby garage, where I met a couple of gentlemen. Two of them, one of the gentlemen was from he was a Ukrainian military, and the other one was a rocket scientist. And they said that we have an interesting product here. We have a adjustable gas system for the AK-74 and AKM, and I'm always interested in seeing new products. And the design that he showed me was extremely unique. The way that it fit in. And basically, you replaced the op rod, the top gas tube, and you added the gas valve, and there's a piston inside of here. And what was unique about it was adjustable from the outside. So it made it much easier to use a lot of the newer ones where you have to remove the bolt carrier and whatnot. This one was on the outside. And as you can see, this particular model here is in the raw because it was a prototype. So he showed it to me. I thought it was very interesting. Then we went out and back, and he had a big wood pile there, and we shot both the AK-74 and AKM Soviet rifles with this system on here, and it was extremely impressive. The AK-74, which has no recoil to begin with, if you can imagine an AK-74 having less recoil than it already does. And the AKM was very interesting for a couple reasons. First off, when you fire an AKM, standard AKM, as we're going to look at in a little bit here, with its full power round and its fully open gas system like that it has, you generate quite a bit of recoil because the fact the system is overgassed to compensate for ammunition variations, weather, and so forth. It's a very heavily gassed system. When you fire a rifle that's an AK that has adjustable gas system where you're adjusting the gas down just enough so it cycles the rifle reliably, they feel like two different rifles. The muzzle jump is very minimal, very little impact into your shoulder. It feels like a different rifle. That just goes to show you the amount of gas which is necessary to operate the rifle versus how much gas is used in the rifle to make it, quote, a combat rifle. And that was what really shocked me, was just the difference in felt recoil, because we were able to turn the gas completely all the way on. So you're just dealing with the gas port as far as measuring the gas coming in, and felt the recoil, not to mention traditionally the AKs launched the fired cartridge case into the next zip code. That's part of the system as part of it being heavily gassed. When you decrease that gas, you are decreasing the bolt velocity that's going rearward. And therefore, as you decrease your bolt velocity, your fired cartridge case, the distance is cut down dramatically. And on a couple different rifles that I've used this gas system in so far, when you see the fully open gas position versus the tube position to just enough for it to operate, the cartridge cases are going not even a quarter of the distance they would with the fully open gas, and the recoil is just tremendously low. It doesn't even really feel like a 7.62x39 at that point. It feels less than that of an AR at some point in some cases, because you have a much more massive bolt carrier group to operate on the AK. So I saw it and I said, you know what, this could be certainly a product. So I had some plans sent, brought some plans back with me. I went to a machine shop here and had them manufacture it. And of course, it being a prototype, there were some things we were looking at with it to see, first of all, how it worked, and then how it could be improved. So we've gone through a couple different iterations right now to the iteration that you see right here. Now, the gas system that we're going to be looking at here is a prototype. This is not a finalized product. There's some changes that are in the works right now to make some modifications, such as putting in a handguard on here, and also, for as far as the adjustment valve is concerned, putting a loop on here so we can stick a cartridge case through it to adjust it when it gets hot. Most of these gas systems, or pretty much all of them, the more you shoot them, the more carbon freezing you can get just from the carbon being on there. It can be difficult to rotate the valve, and also heat if you have to adjust it when there's heat. So those would take care of that. And so far, I have several thousands of rounds through the system, and it's an extremely sound system. So I think what I want to talk about now is how adjustable gas systems work and what purpose they serve on rifles. If you go back in time a little bit, you'll see rifles like the FAL, and there's a couple of the rifles out there that have adjustable gas systems. Now, these work very, very well under certain circumstances. First off, with an adjustable gas system, when you can dial the gas down so you're just operating the rifle in the environment that you're in with the ammunition that you're using, you have decreased recoil, you have an increase in accuracy because of the decreased muzzle flip and decreased recoil. You're also having less wear on the firearm itself. You're taking much less of the recoil out of it, much more. The working parts are having far less wear on them, so increasing the life of the rifle. So those are really, really good things. Now we get into the bad parts. The bad part is if you have a soldier who is not familiar with it or it's not monitored, well, if you have the system totally opened up with the fullest amount of gas, it works even better, right? Well, absolutely not. You open the systems all the way up, you're increasing recoil, you're increasing the wear on the parts. It can be a problem, so you have to know how to use it. Now, another issue that comes up with adjustable gas systems is you truly learn the differences between ammunition, and you'll learn the differences between your environment, how your environment controls it. Because, first off, in the videos you're going to see coming up, you're going to see we're shooting the Russian ammunition. You're going to see how we have, even with the dial all the way down, you still have an erratic ejection of the fired cartridge cases. And the reason is the variances in the ammunition. If you don't have consistency in your powder charge, your bolts can be driven back at different velocities. So that's something that you will see. The better quality ammunition, the more consistency you have in your ejection pattern, you're going to see that. You're going to see also the differences in ammunition across the board. You're going to see that you're going to adjust the gas system for one cartridge, say the Tula ammo. Then you're going to go ahead and put a Gecko or an American Eagle in there, and you're going to see a major change in the rifle. It may short stroke. It may have more gas, but you will see the variations in just switching ammunition, which is why when you're using the rifle as a military rifle, you use the exact same ammunition. So once you have your system tuned, you're using the exact same ammunition, because when you start going from round to round, you're going to see that difference in both chamber and port pressure with that. So if you're to change ammunition, you're going to need to change your gas ports, which you're going to see in the video. You're going to see where we set up the ammunition for the Russian, and we get it working perfect. And then we're going to put a lower powered type ammunition, the Gecko ammunition, where it has less pressure. You're going to see the gun's going to short stroke. We're going to have to readjust. So you see that as well. So there's a major benefit to having the system as long as your soldiers are aware how to use it. Now, there's two different models that they're working on right now on this gas system. One is the one you see here, which is a fully adjustable system, where you have a wide range of movement, so you can go from closed to weight to all the way open. Now, for military, we are dealing with conscript soldiers who are not very familiar with it. That's a little bit too much power to give them. So they're also working on a system where you have a setting for gas off, you're having a setting for normal operations, and you're going to have one for suppressed. So you're going to be able to have just the three positions, so a soldier's not going to get himself in trouble. So that's the important thing about an adjustable gas system, is knowing how to use it. It's no different on this rifle than it is on a FAL or anything else. ARs are the same thing. It's you have that difference when you have your differences in temperatures. You go from a rifle that you're shooting in 90-degree weather, where you're having the hot temperatures, to shooting in the negatives. Well, then when you get in those negative temperatures, your chemical reaction slows up. You get lower port pressure, lower chamber. And if you have these rifles set right to that point where it's working properly in 90-degree weather, more than likely you're going to have short stroking, or you're going to have failures to eject. So that's something else that you have to watch out for as well. So the fully adjustable system is not for your average soldier. It's for somebody who is very, very knowledgeable on the systems and how it works. The next part where the adjustable gas system really, really shines is with use of sound suppressors. Now, many AKs, because of the fact that they are so heavily gassed, you can't put sound suppressors on them because of the fact that there's so much gas. Plus you add that to it, you're even putting more back pressure on there. You are going to have failures to extract. or the magazine spring isn't going to have enough time to push the shot column up to feed the next round. Plus, you also have additional issues with bore concentricity, the thread concentricity. There's other issues that go into AKs as well. We're also going to see from the range footage, you're going to see how once you have this rifle set up for minimal gas without the suppressor, when you put your suppressor on, you have so much room in between where it originally was versus where it is with just having the gas, which is finely tuned. You can put your suppressor on and off, and you will be firing within perfect parameters for as far as reliability and a cyclic rate where it's normal. So you literally would have this, say, set up for Russian ammunition, lowest position, to cycle the rifle without the suppressor. You're good to go. And then when you put the can on, you're going to have that slightest increase in pressure, and it's going to cycle reliably as well. So you can have just one position for both suppressed and unsuppressed. And then, of course, if you decide you want to have even lower recoil, you can even adjust it down with the can on, which I don't recommend. I think you're getting too fine adjustments at that point. So that's going to give you a little bit of a background on what the purpose of an adjustable gas system is and how the gas systems do work. I want to take a minute here. I want to go over a regular AK and how the system works and how the parts work together. What we have here is the standard Eastern Bloc AKM. There's nothing modified on this at all. This is a standard Russian AKM design. So we'll remove the magazine, make sure it's empty, and we're going to take that apart. Remove the recoil spring, hot rod bolt carrier, and now we have our system stripped down. So basically, in your cycle of operations, you have a very large gas port in the front here, and what that large gas port does is it bleeds gas off into the cylinder. The cylinder is created between the front of the piston and the rear of the gas block. So as the bolt begins to move rearward, it starts coming rearward, and once it comes out of the gas block, you have radials here where it bleeds off a good amount of the excess gas. But you have a very heavy blow in here due to the fact that you have such open gas, which knocks the bolt carrier all the way to the rear and ejects. Now, the way the rifles are set up and were designed, it was designed to work in very heavy environments, very under fouling and so forth. So this is why you have all this gas that's used. Now, these rifles were never designed to be suppressed. Back when these were developed in 1947, they really were not using sound suppressors on assault rifles or on military rifles. They were mostly used on submachine guns and pistols. So these were never designed for that purpose. Now, another thing you have to notice is you have no gas rings on an AK piston. So you have to overgas that also because you have a lot of gas that's flowing around the sides of the piston and coming back. So you have to compensate for all that gas that's being lost at that moment of pressurization. So you're having gas leaking around the piston to knock it back. If you look at a lot of modern military rifles that use a piston system, they utilize gas rings around the piston. And what that does is it closes up and it seals the chamber. And what that does is it allows you to operate the mechanism with far less gas. And that is what also can enable you to be able to utilize a sound suppressor because you're cutting down on so much gas that you're around that area where it would be safe to use a sound suppressor. But because this doesn't utilize any of that, it does fit sloppy in there. You have to overcompensate for that gas that's coming out around the sides as well. So that's how the system of a basic AK works. Now, taking a close look at this valve, we have knurled ends on here where you're able to rotate. Now, when you rotate this to the counterclockwise position, you increase gas. Counterclockwise, you're decreasing gas. Now, the basic components we're going to show you right now, we're going to disassemble this rifle and we're going to take a look. Before we take this rifle apart, I want to address what this rifle is. When I had the adjustable gas system built here in the U.S., I wanted to have a rifle that was built to accept not only the gas system, which is a drop-in, but I wanted to have a rifle that I could be able to shoot suppressed. So what that meant was I had to make sure that I had a concentric barrel with concentric threads. And also the fact that I use a silencer co suppressor, I wanted to make sure I was able to use my silencer co adapter. So I called a good friend of mine, Vince Buckles, out at Basic Neck Development, or Kyra Pass Tactical in Gonzales, Louisiana. Those of you who may not know that Vince he's a former Sons of Gun guy. He was one of the brilliant gunsmiths who did a lot of development work. Vince had split off from Red Jacket Firearms prior to the unpleasantness and opened up his own shop. Now, Vince has been very well known for making some of the finest AKs, I think, in the country. He is excellent. I mean, he works with AKs very, like Picasso works with oils. So I say the same thing about Mark Krebs. But Vince is truly very good. He does a lot of custom builds. He does a lot of classes. He works with Larry Vickers and a lot of his things that he does as well. So I called Vince and said, I need a rifle. I need an American-made barrel. I need one that's going to be concentric. I need one you're going to be able to put a ASR mount on for the Sound Suppressor. So he said, no problem. So he built me the rifle based off of a Bulgarian kit. We have an American-made receiver, and he built off of a Nodak receiver, Polish handguards on here. The barrel was hand-chosen by him to be sure that we were concentric. And that's all I really needed him to do, was to build me the rifle. Now, the parts, as we're going to take a look at, when we look at the rifle, this rifle, as you see here, for as far as function is concerned, is a standard rifle, standard AKM rifle, AKM pattern. This is no different than anything else that you're going to find, whether it be Romanian, Russian, Bulgarian, Hungarian, whatnot. The Chinese, on the other hand, can be a little bit different. We haven't had a chance to try this system in the Chinese rifle yet. So the kit that we have, basically, is what you see right here. First off the bolt, as you can see, we have a much shorter operating rod compared to a standard. So basically, it would come with the operating rod. You would remove the rivet, and you would install the new operating rod, which is much shorter. Now, this is one of the parts that is on the list to change. This is a standard gas tube, which is cut down to accept the gas valve. So one of the things that we're working on right now is getting this set up so you would have the handguard on the front. Now, one of the things about the gas tubes is there's a angled cut on here so it will clear the lock lever. Now, that's one thing that you may have to modify yourself once this kit comes out. No different than any other AK. When you have a new gas tube, this is straight. You usually take a belt sander and you modify that so it will fit properly with the rifle. AKs are not what you would call precision-made rifles. You don't have all the parts that are tight where you can do everything uniform. Some gas blocks may be a little bit closer, some may be further away, and other variations. So that's why this is a part that is always modified by oneself. So the only part that you are really truly modifying is you're just replacing the operating rod. Any gunsmith can do that by drilling out the rivet and putting a new rivet in and putting it into place. Now, inside the gas tube, you're going to have your additional piston, and you're going to have your trigger, your return spring. And these will just drop right in the front. Just like so. Now we see the gas valve itself. Now, as you can see, we have, as we rotate, we can either let in more gas or less gas. Now, this is designed to be universal for any rifle. However, as universal as AKs can possibly be, there may be still some kind of a modification that you may have to do where this sits onto the barrel. As the rifle gets in use, you can see where you have the carbon that builds up. So that's one of the modifications that we're going to make, is a loop on here so you can stick in your cartridge tip so you can rotate the gas valve when you have carbon freeze conditions in it or you have a heat condition in it. It's a very, very simple system, and one of the biggest benefits that I liked about this particular design was this was on the outside, and it was relatively easy to get to dial. What we're going to show you right now is the procedure that you will take to adjust the gas system. Keep going. Okay, now we're going to try a couple shots to see if it's going to be consistent. We're going to go down a couple. So that tells me we're going to have to go up a couple. So what we found here is the sweet spot for shooting unsuppressed with this particular ammunition, which is
Tula ammo, which is a Russian-made ammunition.
As you can see, very, very simple. It's done from, everything's done from the outside. You don't have to take the rifle apart. It's just a matter of adjusting it. Very easy to do. The rifle was clean. It was pretty much unfired at that time, so everything moved relatively easy. Again, as a part of the rifle begins to be used quite a bit, you get that carbon freeze in there. So you'll probably have a little bit of a difficult time tapping this out when you have a lot of carbon freeze. Just take a toothbrush and you would clean out the carbon. Everything drops right back in. So we're going to show you how this all assembles into place. The gas valve adjustment knob goes onto the left-hand side. So all we're going to do is we're going to place that into the gas block. We're going to push that forward, and we're going to take a rubber mallet. We're just going to give that a little bit of a tap all the way. Now again, please understand this is a prototype. That's why you see this is in the raw. It has not been finished. What we're now going to do is we're going to assemble the piston and piston spring into the gas tube. So now once everything's assembled, we're going to insert that onto the front, drop the gas tube to the rear. Now we're going to lock that right in place. The modified operating tip on the front of the bolt carrier. Drop in like so. I'm going to insert recoil spring. And we have everything back together. So the first thing we were going to take a look at is once you have this thing adjusted, you'll see that the ejection pattern on this rifle is drastically changed. Now, when we fire different kinds of ammunition, you're going to see that there is a difference. The first clip we're going to show you is going to be standard Russian ammunition, which is very, very high powered.
There's a significant difference in recoil when you dial the gas down compared to when it's not. Significant difference. Well, we certainly have a complete sweet spot for this particular ammunition. The lowest possible gas setting to give you the most reliable cycling.
And the second will be with the exact same settings for the Russian ammunition. We're going to put the Gecko ammunition, and you're going to see how that changed ammunition totally changed the operating characteristics of the rifle. And you're going to see that we're going to see short stroking, and we're going to see failures to eject, which is going to require us to have to modify the amount of gas that's being put in. So we're going to increase the gas so it will work with the Gecko ammunition.
We have the gas system adjusted for the Tula ammunition, which is a rather hot cartridge. The ammunition we have here is Gecko 7.62x39, which is, as a rule, significantly lower in pressure. So my guess is with the situation we have here between the two ammunition, this probably will not cycle in the rifle, so we'll see. Yes, they will not knock the bolt all the way back. The one thing about adjustable gas systems is you adjust them for the particular type of ammunition in a particular environment. So, for instance, if this rifle was on fully open, it would function with both types of ammunition. This ammunition is specifically for the Tula ammunition, which is a rather hot cartridge. As we can see, it didn't even go back far enough to pick one of the cartridges up.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to try this thing suppressed. Now, starting off, we're going to have the rifle gas set. So with the ammunition that is utilizing, it is the lowest setting that you can have that the rifle will operate properly. And then we're going to install the sound suppressor. The sound suppressor that I'm using is a Silencer Co. Omega. Now, there are other sound suppressors that are designed specifically for AKs, such as the Dead Air and so forth, Wolverines. However, the one that I'm utilizing here is one that I have here. I didn't want to have to go out and get a new sound suppressor and go through all the waiting period for a specific one. So Vince was able to install for me the proper block so I could install my Silencer Co. can. And now we'll show you how this rifle fires in the suppress mode.
Traditionally, AK-47s, or the entire AK family of weapons, is very overgassed. That compensates for ammunition changes as well as temperature changes. Now, when we switch over to suppressed on this one, due to the fact that this is already gassed way down just to cycle the ammunition, this rifle will have no problem cycling on suppressed with this setting. However, once we get the suppressor on, because of the back pressure, you have the longer barrel, more powder burns, everything speeds up. We'll be able to adjust the gas to lessen it, so it will allow less gas in with the suppressor to further decrease recoil. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the suppressor on. And we're going to fire a couple rounds with the same gas setting on that is used for this ammunition at its lowest setting.
Now, when we have it set up like this, where we have it adjusted for the unsuppressed, and then we just add the suppressor, we have the perfect combination. However, if we choose to decrease that gas down even further, so it just runs with the suppressor, we can do that as well, which we're going to see right now.
See that it works properly. So what we're going to do now is we're going to lessen it. We're going to take it down 2. And we're going to take it down 2 more. And we'll take it down 2 more. So this is showing that I went down too far. So what we're going to do is we're going to go plus. I'll go +1 and we'll see how it is. Okay, now we're seeming to be working well, so what we're going to do now is we're going to finish the magazine with this setting. So now if we're going to take this suppressor off, we're going to find that this will not cycle on this setting, which we got to wait for that to cool down first.
I cannot emphasize any further that with the way this is set is to a specific kind of ammunition. It's not like a regular AK where you have a full open gas port where it's pretty much going to fire anything you put into it. The adjustable gas valves are not like that. So overall, what are the major benefits to having an adjustable gas system? Well, first off, softer recoil. Softer recoil generally means more accuracy because the rifle's not jumping as much. Now, for as far as cleanliness is concerned, this is a long-stroke piston system. So like any piston-operated system or long-stroke piston-operated system, you have no gas that's going back into the mechanism. However, once you put a sound suppressor on there, all bets are off. Because of the fact that you're overpressuring the system, you are blowing that gas back into the system. When you fire suppress, you'll have an increased amount of fouling into the chamber, into the mechanism, and that's true with every single sound suppressor that's being used. You're blowing that pressure back in there, so you will have fouling when using a suppressor, but when you're not using it, a suppressor, you will have a very, very clean burning rifle. So overall, the system that we are working with is very, very impressive. And again, I want to make sure you understand this is a prototype. We still have some things that we're going to be doing with it. We're going to be adding a handguard to the gas tube. We're going to be adding a loop on here so we're able to adjust with when this is hot or if you have carbon buildup. And we're going to have the 2 versions that are going to be available. Now, I really can't give you guys an idea of when this is going to be available. This is a prototype. And I'm really interested to get you guys' opinions and your thoughts on what you think of the system. As we said for modifications, all you're doing is adding a new gas tube that's cut down shorter. Your gas valve system is going to slide into place, and you're going to change out your operating rod to a shorter operating rod. That's all that's required of it. For as far as who the sales are going to be geared at, I would imagine we're going to have a lot of sales that are probably going to be geared towards OEMs. Manufacturing them like that with this system already there, but we're looking at being able to sell them as a kit as well. The interesting thing right now is we have to get our hands on many different types of AKs to see what's going to fit. Because AKs, although they all look the same, they are not the same. You do have a lot of variations in barrel thicknesses and locations where parts are placed. This is not precision made like an AR-15 or an M16. These are made on relatively crude machines. Throughout the world. It's not like there's only one standard. Now, so far, is the ones that have been developed. They have been designed specifically around Russian rifles. Now, the Russian rifles, they are the same very much as the Romanians, which are Russian machines, and some of the other former Warsaw Pact countries who had machines provided to them by the Soviet Union. So everything is relatively the same. It's the countries who've done the reverse engineering in countries like China, where we have a lot of research to do, due to the fact that, for instance, the Chinese rifles, they are not stock Soviet either way. Your milled receivers were different, and then when they switched over to the stamped receivers, they were different as well. They were using a combination of parts rather than all the new parts that were being used by the Russians for the lighter AKM. So there are some changes. I'm very impressed with the system. I think it's a very convenient way to have this system for military use. Again, to a trained soldier, this is an excellent tool. That's also why they're designing the one that's going to be utilized for troops where you just have the 3 positions instead of the one that's going to be fully adjustable, so you're taking away some of that freedom, which could have the rifle malfunction at an inopportune time. So I hope you all did enjoy this video. If you did, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share.